The Galactic Academy of Interspecies Relations prided itself on diversity. Species from across the known universe gathered in its hallowed halls to learn diplomacy, cultural exchange, and galactic law. But even the Academy had its hierarchies, its whispers and its fears. Among those fears walked Elaine, human, Deathworlder, silent. Most students avoided her, not out of malice but instinct. Evolution had gifted them with the ability to recognize apex predators, and every fiber of their beings recognized the danger that lurked behind her quiet demeanor. Professor Torlak, a six-limbed Venturi with crystalline skin that shimmered under the academy lights, often found himself watching her during lectures. Unlike the others, Elaine never raised a hand to answer questions. She simply observed, took meticulous notes, and left without engaging with her peers. The human continues to isolate herself, Torlak mentioned to Dean Voss during their weekly meeting. The Dean, an ancient Palladian whose skin had dulled from vibrant blue to a muted gray over centuries, sighed. She passed all entrance exams with unprecedented scores. We cannot deny education based on species prejudice. I'm not suggesting that. I'm concerned about her integration. Perhaps humans simply don't integrate the way other species do. The Dean replied. The conversation might have ended there if not for what happened 3 standard cycles later. The Academy sat on the peaceful world of Lumina Prime, chosen for its neutral gravity, breathable atmosphere for most species, and political neutrality. For 2,000 years, it had never seen conflict, until the Krell Dominion violated every treaty in existence and deployed a strike force. The attack came during midday meal. Most students were gathered in the Grand Hall when the energy shields failed and the first wave of Krell soldiers, reptilian warriors bred for conquest, stormed the academy grounds. Elaine wasn't in the hall. She had been in the gymnasium, a habit she maintained despite the curious stares. In human terms, she was working out, though to other species it looked like torture she willingly inflicted upon herself. The first indication of trouble came when emergency lights bathed the facility in red. Then came the academy-wide announcement. All students and faculty, this is not a drill. We are under attack. Secure yourselves in designated safe rooms immediately. Elaine didn't run for a safe room. Instead, she moved with purpose toward her quarters, ignoring the panicked students rushing past her. In her room, she opened a case that, according to academy records, contained cultural artifacts from Earth. It wasn't entirely a lie. The Krell had expected minimal resistance. They knew the academy was populated primarily by academics and students from non-combat-oriented species. What they hadn't accounted for was a single human who had once served in Earth's special forces. Report, commanded General Vrex as his troops secured the main building. All proceeding as planned, sir. We have captured 89% of the student body and 76% of faculty. They're being held in the Grand Hall. Minimal resistance. And the remaining percentages? Some are hiding. We're conducting sweeps now. The general nodded, his scaled head reflecting. The emergency lights. And the secure archives? We've breached the outer doors. Inner security remains active. Acceptable. The archives are secondary. The hostages will provide sufficient leverage for... The communication device crackled. Unit 7 report silence. Unit 7 report status. More silence. Then, a different voice. Unit 3. We've lost contact with 7 and 8. Investigating now. General Vrex felt an unfamiliar sensation along his spine. Something resembling what prey might feel when aware of a predator's presence. Secure the perimeter, he ordered. No one enters or leaves. Professor Torlak huddled with a group of younger students in one of the safe rooms. They had been fortunate. Their xenobiology lab was close to a designated shelter when the attack began. Why are they doing this? Whispered a trembling Nari student, their leaf-like appendages curling inward with fear. The Krell believe in strength above all, Torlak explained softly. They see our academic pursuit as weakness. The room fell silent as footsteps approached outside. Heavy, military-grade boots. The door's locking mechanism began to glow as something attempted to override it. Then came sounds Torlak would never forget. A brief struggle, something heavy hitting the floor, then silence again. The door slid open and the students shrunk back in terror. But it wasn't a Krell soldier who entered. It was Elaine. Her academy uniform was gone, replaced by form-fitting black attire. Blood, green Krell blood, spattered her face and hands. "Professor," she said with a nod, as if they were passing in, a hallway between classes. "I need you to lead everyone to the underwater research lab. It's secured and overlooked in the Krell sweep patterns." "How do you—" "I've been monitoring their communications," she said, holding up a device stripped from a fallen soldier. "They're after hostages for leverage and data from the secure archives." Torlak stared at her. This wasn't the quiet student who sat in the back of his class. This was someone else entirely, someone who moved with lethal precision and spoke with absolute authority. "What will you do?" he asked. "What I was trained to do," she replied simply. "Save everyone." The Krell never stood a chance. One by one, their units went silent. Soldiers disappeared from posts. Security cameras failed in sequence. And with each passing hour, General Vrex felt that primal fear grow stronger. "It's one of the students," his intelligence officer reported, reviewing the limited footage they had captured. "The human." "One human?" Vrex scoffed. "Against 40 elite warriors?" "Sir, humans are from a high-gravity death world. They're different." Vrex had heard the stories. Everyone had. But stories were exaggerations, myths to frighten children. Until they weren't. The general himself was the last to fall. Cornered in the communication center, he faced Elaine directly, weapon raised. "You're just one being," he snarled. "Yes," she agreed, her voice calm. "But I'm a human being." What happened next would become legend throughout the galaxy. When Alliance forces finally arrived 12 hours after the initial attack, they found an academy in disarray but intact. Every student and faculty member was safe. And 40 Krell soldiers were incapacitated. Some injured, others simply unconscious. All defeated by a single human. At the academy gathering afterward, Dean Voss approached Elaine, who had once again donned her standard uniform, all evidence of the warrior. She had been carefully hidden away. "Why didn't you tell us about your background?" he asked. She shrugged slightly. "You never asked, and I came here to learn, not to fight." Yet when the time came, I did what humans do, she said simply. "We protect." After that day, no one at the academy whispered about the quiet human anymore. No one avoided her in hallways or stared with poorly concealed fear. Instead, they looked at her with understanding and profound respect. Elaine remained quiet in class. She still took meticulous notes and rarely raised her hand. But now, students from across the galaxy sought her out, not just as a classmate, but as a teacher, because they had learned what the Krell learned too late. That sometimes the most dangerous being in the room is the one who doesn't need to prove it, until the moment arrives when an army falls to her alone.